What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for as time progresses, and also some very important things coming up for tomorrow, which are going to affect the whole markets. But before I get into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's going on with the market. I'm going to try to make this video kind of quick, guys. I'm not feeling the best. I also apologize if I cough every now and then. I'm a little bit under the weather today. This has been going on for the last couple of hours, so I'll still try to do my best to upload this video, do the best I can anyways. I want to talk about something very, very important for tomorrow. So when it comes to economic data, as a reminder, it's not that crazy for tomorrow. At 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Composite PMI report, not to mention the S&P Services PMI all coming out. So make sure you watch those very, very carefully. 15 minutes after market open could cause some volatility. What's going to affect the market more is going to be these earnings coming out tomorrow and also today, technically. So Netflix had its earnings. They did very well in terms of guidance. And that's part of why Netflix is pushing during the after hours. And this is actually helping the market push up a bit more. Now, for Wednesday, before the market opens, we have AT&T and Progressive and just a couple of others. Then we have Tesla announcing its earnings after market close alongside IBM. Tesla's going to be the most important one. It's going to affect the whole market, so we'll be watching to see how this affects things. The fear and greed index is very close to extreme greed again, so watch that very carefully. Once you hit those extremes, that's when you want to be very open-minded, very, very careful with the markets. As far as Netflix goes, they did very, very well. They added 13.1 million subscribers, topping revenue estimates and doing very well. You could see their earnings per share was actually a little bit lower than expected, but not bad. But then their revenue was a nice beat, and their total memberships were about 261 million versus 256 million expected. But on top of this, the company also projects earnings per share of $4.49 for the first quarter of 2024. That's higher than the $4.10 expectation from Wall Street. Additionally, we have Tesla's earnings tomorrow. Make sure you watch those operating costs very carefully, the margins, and see what Tesla announces for guidance. That's going to be very key. Now let's talk about some tickers. So SPY is looking a little bullish, especially thanks to Netflix. Watch and see how the data coming out tomorrow, the PMI report at 9:45 a.m. affects it. But otherwise, it's looking kind of bullish right now. It's trying to break out, actually broke above the high right here. We're going to be looking for a push up of 486. Now, we did retrace a little bit today as predicted, but then the market got a nice bounce throughout the day, so it might try to push up during this reaccumulation phase, so it is favoring the bulls. If we're bearish, you want to lose 485, then 480, basically 483.5. If we lose that, 482.75 is next, and if we lose that, we turn bearish. If we're bullish, you want to break 486. If we break that, 487.5 is a target. SPY is favoring the bulls a bit from a technical standpoint. As far as Tesla goes, I just want to mention that Tesla, it's been trading sideways, going back and forth between supply and demand. If we're bullish, you want to see this thing try to break above the 212s, especially tomorrow approaching its earnings. Then after earnings, there's going to be a massive move. I think tomorrow's not going to matter as much. What matters, tomorrow's intraday price action is not going to matter as much. What matters is going to be earnings once it comes out after market close. We'll see if Tesla explodes back into the 220s or 230s, or if Tesla ends up sinking back down towards 200 first and about like 180 a share. I'll just be watching it very carefully. But if anything, I think tomorrow it might pop and reopen, come back down, consolidate a bit, and try to close a little bit green. I think it's going to be hovering around the 212 area and try to push it just a slightly bit, as we're going to see some buyers stepping in for earnings. But then we're going to be looking for a big move later on. So we'll see what earnings cause for Tesla. That's going to shake SPY in the whole market. For the QQQ, this is looking kind of bullish in my opinion, because the QQQ managed to break above 424 again. We have 425 as resistance. If we break this, we could try to push close to 427. If we end up breaking down, you're going to be looking for a push back down towards 422.5. If we lose that, there's 421 and 420. If 420 fails, 418 is next. Overall, thanks to Netflix and possibly even thanks to Tesla tomorrow, the QQQ looks like it might try to break its high, and it might actually try to get back above 425. So it looks more bullish from a technical standpoint. Make sure you watch your levels very carefully. For Nvda, this thing is testing 600. If we manage to break that resistance, we're going to be looking for a push towards 602 and 605. It's still testing that, so watch it carefully. If we lose 595, look for a move down towards 590, then 587. The chart is still favoring the bulls nonetheless. For Aapl, Apple's uptrending, watch 195 as resistance. If we break above that resistance, we have this wick right here around 195.75. That's going to be our next target. And if we get above that, I think it's going to get very close to 197. So I'll be watching that very, very carefully, if anything. If we're bearish, you want to see this thing basically lose support at 194.4. So if it loses the support right here, it's going to be sinking back down to 193.5. And if that fails us, a bigger drop is coming. If anything, the chart favors the bulls. It looks like it's going to favor the bulls. It might try to break above 195, so watch that very carefully. Another thing that's helping the bulls would be the fact that the VIX, if you look at the VIX, it still has this nice gap down here. It actually managed to fill that gap, but it's still looking bearish on the VIX. There's no sign of this thing bouncing yet. It's still continuing to sink, and this is favoring the bulls somewhat more. With that being said, guys, I'm pretty much done with the trading view part. I'm just going to go over a couple of others very briefly. What do I see for a couple more tickers? I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So one thing about the markets is that the market could be setting up for a bullish move depending on earnings. Earnings are going to be very huge for it. That's why tomorrow is going to be a very huge day. But as far as other stocks go, if we go back down to SoFi, SoFi came down 2%, but it's holding the 20 EMA, looking a little bearish and might actually retrace a bit more to this imbalance at 7.5, then bounce and push back up to 8. So look for a little rejection on SoFi, then a bounce. That is still very possible for it. On top of that, for the IWM or the Russell 2000, it might back to 193 then bounce, so watch that very carefully. We'll have to see how that ends up looking. But I think that's watch 193.8, the 50 EMA. It might try to bounce off that, so it might retrace first and try to bounce, so watch that very carefully. AMD is still holding up nicely in 168. It's looking like it's holding the 20 EMA nicely. Going to be looking for a push towards 170, then 175. If we get above 170, watch for 175. Netflix is on fire. It's up 8% in the after hours. It's going to gap up tomorrow. Looks very strong. Coinbase is trying to base over here. Watch and see if it can break 126. If it breaks that, 130 plus is coming. Google looking a little bit bullish, trying to break out to 150. Might test 150, then shop. For Amazon, we're trying to push up towards 157.25. Again, looks a little bullish. If that breaks, 160 is our next target. And finally, for Meta, trying to push back up towards 390. If we break 387, I think that's going to attempt to break that. And I think 390 is coming. If we break that, we could even push higher. So a lot of stocks out there look like they're showing, excuse me, they're showing some life. We're going to try to push higher. So make sure you watch your levels carefully and do what you have to do, guys. I want to make this video very quick. Have an absolutely spectacular day. And don't forget, tomorrow is going to be an absolutely massive day. We have Tesla's earnings coming out. Whatever Tesla announces is going to affect the entire market. It's going to affect SPY. It's going to affect the QQQ. It's going to affect Nvda. So we will see what happens to Tesla. Tesla might hold up nicely approaching its earnings, but then after earnings comes out, excuse me, watch for a really, really big move. So I think Tesla's going to make a massive move. It's going to cause some high volatility. I'll be talking more about that tomorrow. But if anything, thank you both for listening. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. The market to the moon because the long term is still incredibly bright despite the short term fluctuations. And peace out.